Hello everyone, it's James here from Dundee Science Centre, and today we're going to be talking about forensic science, okay? More specifically, forensic anthropology. Now, that basically means the study of human remains, and in a lot of cases, those remains are bones. So, put yourself in this situation. Imagine you are a forensic scientist, someone who is trained to help the police and the court solve crimes, and you get a phone call from the detective, and he says, you need to come out right away to the crime scene because we have found a human skull and we need you to tell us, or see if you can tell us, who that person was, okay? So, the kind of things you would need to know when you're trying to work out who a person was, you would need to know whether they were a boy or a girl, for a start. You would probably want to know how old they were, whether they were an older person or a younger person. Their height as well, you can work out their height. And you can also check the bones of the skeleton to see if there's any trauma. So that just means injury or damage. And all of that can help you work out who that person might have been. So first of all, we're going to talk about how to tell whether a skull is from a man or a woman. So, we'll start with this one. Now, one of the first things you can look at is here, okay? This is called the brow ridge. So it's basically where your eyebrows would be. Now, in a female skull, it tends to be quite smooth, okay? Like you can see here. Quite smooth and quite small. Whereas in a male skull, you can see it's quite big and bumpy. It kind of sticks out like that. So that's one way to kind of indicate whether it's from a man or a woman. Secondly, you can have a look here at the eye orbits, so the eye sockets where your eyes would be. What you want to do is you want to have a little feel here at the margin, okay? If it's quite sharp, that tends to mean that it's a woman's skull. If it's quite thick and blunt, that usually means that it's from a man. Now, if we have a look at the back here, these bumpy bits, these are called mastoid processes. And in girls, in female skulls, they tend to be quite small, whereas in male skulls, they tend to be quite big and thick. Lastly, we can have a look at the back of the skull here, the bottom. So you'll notice that there's quite a big difference between this skull and this skull. On this skull, we have this kind of hook here. Now, this is really, really easy. I'm sure you all know what this is called. The external occipital protuberance. So the external occipital protuberance is basically just a little bony bump or hook that sticks out at the back of the skull. It's usually more obvious, quite big in men, and quite small or even absent in women. Okay? So these are some of the ways that you can tell the difference between a man's skull and a woman's skull. It's important though to realise that you do get females who have features on their skull that you might think would be masculine, and you get males who have features on their skull that you might think would be feminine. So it's not 100%, but you can generally get a good idea.